Hey, hopefully you can hear me. I'm trying not to wake up mom. I don't know how successful I would be. So I'm going to be kind of whispering, but I hope you can hear me. I'm trying to use the earphones to give me some volume. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm so nervous. My heart is pounding. It's so difficult that following behind Katie. I'd be like, oh my God. Like, I could just keep listening to her. So anyway, thank you so much for having me participate in my recovery and being a part of this weekend. And I just love even helping Ali. Thank you, Ali. That was an awesome introduction. It's been great to be a part of the Fellowship of the Spirit and also being behind the scenes and coming up with our speakers and what we're going to do in our program. And so I get so into it, I totally forgot that I'm participating. So even when I was listening to Katie, I was like, oh God, I'm supposed to be going next. I had to go pray like big time. I was like, oh man, I'm a part of this. Shucks. Just want to be a monitor. So anyway, so far it has been absolutely awesome. I've been so excited. It's almost like I was thinking about how we stick with the winners, you know? And I just always feel so grateful to be a part of the winners. Everybody, I believe, that shows up to conferences and meetings are the winners. The fact that you showed up, right, and you're here says that there's a willingness. And I get excited to just be a part of that because that tells me that I'm willing and I'm a winner too. I'm nervous. I'm uncomfortable. This is awkward and intimidating. I always have to say that first. My sobriety date is March 29, 1990. But for the grace of God, I've been with you all 30 years. Pretty crazy. I came to you at the age of 24, going on 25. I'm now 55, younger than Katie, but I'm still having my own experience, Katie. 55. I'm definitely not the same girl who came in here at the age of 24. So that's the good news. And I'm excited to see how I'm going to continue to grow and change. I want to welcome everybody who's new. Welcome home. We've been praying for you. I'm so glad you're here. You're in the right place. Just keep coming back. And all the old timers, thank you for my life and my sobriety. You know what occurred to me as I've been listening since yesterday? Um, what is my experience with these steps? And I think what really stood out to me this morning as I was listening to Katie is that for the most part, I don't recall when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous that I embarked upon the steps because they made sense, because logically I understood them, because they seem exciting for me to do them. I did it because other people shared the results of them, and that's somehow contagious, right? As I heard everyone share the similarities in my alcoholism, they talked about the solution in a way that was appealing. And even though it didn't make any sense, I wanted to do it because somehow, whatever that was that they said that they did, they no longer were living in the despair and the misery and the pain where I stood at that moment. And so I've done the steps because I've chased whatever that was that those who came before me said that they did. And it's interesting how our book starts out that way. This is how thousands of men and women have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And the question was, do I want to recover? And what I found interesting was the word seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Because when I came to you, I didn't have that word seemingly before it. I just knew that I was in a state of a hopelessness, right? Of mind and body. But seemingly means appears as though I am. And somehow that gave me hope. That means I'm not a piece of crap. You mean to tell me that I'm not completely an idiot and irresponsible and incompetent and incapable of loving and caring and doing things differently? It appears as though. And if that is the case, there's a solution here that can transform and change that. And so everyone is laid out 1, 2, and 3 in a way. Again, as I was listening to them, it was like, yes, yes, yes. I mean, it's kind of how my experience has been like, oh my gosh, I've been like in awe, right? just fascinated. And still with 30 years, when I hear it, I'm like, what? For real? You know what I mean? Are you kidding me? I want that too. I want to do that too. And I hope that's the experience for the newcomer. And I'm inviting that. I'm inviting the newcomer to just listen to similarities and not the differences. That throughout this weekend, it isn't for you to get it down pack and let me get this and let me get this. We do this, right? This is what we do around here. And that hopefully we can make this so exciting that it's like I can't wait to do it. And what ended up happening was, because I couldn't wait to do it, because I heard your experience of the results of it, it was uncomfortable as I did them because it was different, it was awkward, it was unusual, but I still had the desire to do it despite how uncomfortable it was, because again, I wanted what you had. And on step 4, it clearly tells me that this is not going to be the most comfortable thing for me to do. I hear a lot of folks do say that, it's almost like a spooky step, right? Step 4 and 5 is scary to most people. There was any step that scared me, it was 9, but I did it anyway. Step 4 was an invitation for me to now begin to start gathering evidence. And that's kind of how they kind of explained it to me. I'm now going to gather evidence to support the claim that life run by me doesn't work. It said I needed to be convinced of that. Well, how does anything get convinced? I get convinced by gathering enough evidence to support that to be true. Just like in my step 1, I had to gather the evidence based on my own experience that that was true. And if I discovered that I have an illness that no human power can conquer, that me within myself can't change it, that there's absolutely nothing that's going to happen to release me the merciless, what did they use that word, that merciless obsession off of me, if there's nothing else that's going to do it other than a spiritual remedy, and this is the remedy, then I was down to do it. And I've been down to do it since I've been here. I don't know what it is, but I want to do it. And when I got to 4, it was, I don't know if it was the practicality of it. I like the fact that it's laid out. I don't have to figure anything out in this program. It's laid out. Follow the black on the white. I didn't have to contemplate. I didn't have to wonder how I was going to do it. They actually, if you're new, they actually have a diagram. They actually give you like a little spreadsheet in the book. I love that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It was like, here, this is how. I didn't have to go read in between the lines and figure out how am I going to accomplish that. And to me, that was refreshing. That was a relief because I had figured things out my whole life. My whole life, I had always been trying to figure out from point A to point B how to survive, how to live, how to get through. And everything was laid out for me, and all I had to do was follow it. And I saw it, and it said it in that paragraph. No business can hardly be a success if it doesn't take stock. Is it because I'm a business person? I built companies and businesses since I was 14. I get that, I guess. No good business can hardly be a success if it does not take stock in its assets and liabilities. And to give a visual, because I'm a visual person, if I had a supermarket and all the food on the shelves had expired and the fruit was getting old, would anybody come and shop in my supermarket? They wouldn't. It's no wonder nobody was around in the end and everyone was gone. If a supermarket did not take stock of its trade, of the milk, of the fruit, and the vegetables, would you go to that supermarket? And if the supermarket owner is wondering why nobody's coming into the supermarket, they might want to consider taking a look at the goods that they have on their shelf. And this is something that I had never done. I certainly took stock of what you had going on to determine if it was something that I wanted to get, but I never took stock of my own life. And step four was an opportunity to do that. I'm going to take a moment to really see where Theresa has been in this thing called life, because my alcoholism was only but a symptom. And I need to see where I have been playing God. And it would have never occurred to me that that's what I was doing. Why would it occur to me that I've been playing God? Why would it occur to me that I've been running on ego or running on self? It's impossible for that to occur to me if I'm driven by delusion, of self delusion, if I'm living in denial. See, I didn't get caught up in all that stuff. I just believed in what it said because you said it. It's kind of like I didn't know I was in denial and self delusion and I can't differentiate the truth from the false. Well, there you go. So, why would I be stuck trying to figure out that I don't need to take stock because somehow I got a handle on life? What am I talking about? I don't even know yet. I'm trying to be convinced. I don't even know that I've been playing God. I didn't know it. Of course, I didn't know it. I have self delusion. So let me take a look. Let me just take a look and see. Sometimes I even invite newcomers. I taught DUI classes for years, and I used to tell them, just take a minute while you're in class and stop trying to prove that you're not an alcoholic and just find out if you are. Same thing that was from your inventory. Let me stop trying to prove that I'm not playing God or running the show, and let me find out if I am. I might discover that I'm not. And if I am, I'm good to go. I don't need to hang out with y'all no more at, I don't know, 7:30 in the morning. Hi, y'all AA people. See you later. You know what I mean? I'm good. I discovered I haven't been doing that. But what if I am? What if I am? Let's find out. And that's how I saw the inventory. Really, let's find out. I don't know. And it was interesting to see that I have been living in the first three columns. I see most people, and I work with a lot of people, and they're nervous, right? They're really, really scared about taking a look at this inventory process. And I always say, believe it or not, you've been living in the first three columns. I don't know about you, but anybody who wanted to hear about my first three columns, I would tell them about it. I was always talking about what people did to me. Anybody, any opportunity that I got to character assassinate anyone who had ever offended me, rest assured you were going to hear about it. So in a way, I have been doing inventory. I always talked about what people did to me, whether it allowed me to get sympathy, you know what I mean? Whether it allowed you to join the troops and to go to war with me, to get revenge and to, you know what I mean? To eliminate them. I believe in elimination. We have to eliminate. I laugh because my brother was a Marine and I got that term from him. They must be eliminated. I lived in the first three column. I have family members. I come from mafia. I thought most people know that. And I always say it's called a hit list. You don't know what a hit list is? Hello, everybody. It's a hit list. And so I was like, oh my goodness. So I had to make this list of all these people that I had begrudged or was angry or was pissed off. That was, I had the list. I already had it. I already had it. I knew how many people had wronged me. There was some people that came up that it was odd. I always use Maria Collado as an example because I just started writing names. And I was like, Maria Collado, she was from my grammar school. I don't know why I would say Maria Collado, but what the hell? Let's just go for it. Just put it on there. We'll find out what Maria Collado did to me. And I just did it. I did it because you told me that I had to launch. Launch means to jump into, to immediately move. This wasn't a step that I could sit around and contemplate and wonder about and talk about. I had to immediately launch into action. Why? I needed to support the decision that I made in three. I made a decision to turn, as Katie said, my thoughts. I made that decision to the care. I'm not giving my will. I'm not going to all of a sudden become a puppet and have this puppet master move me around like chess pieces. I needed to turn my thoughts and my actions over to this power, and I needed to see how I've been running it. And I was like, okay, all these people have been, I love how it says it, squandered the hours. I don't know about you, but that was a powerful paragraph to me. I had squandered the hours that people actually had the ability to kill, and that selfish and self centeredness was the root of all my troubles. Maybe there's a lot of brilliant people before me, but you know what? I didn't know that. That had never occurred to me. I didn't know I was running the show. I knew I was in charge, but I didn't think it was called running the show and I was the director. I didn't have that language. Let me see. And I had all these names and other names popped up. And I just said, let's just do it. I need to be convinced here. And then you gave me language like, how did this affect me? You know, I didn't know that my disturbance of what others had done to me was that it affected areas that threatened my basic instinct. I love the language in Alcoholics Anonymous. I find it extremely profound. I didn't know that. That's why I'm disturbed, because you're affecting my ambitions and my pocketbook and my personal relationship, my pride, my sexual relation. I had no clue. I just thought you were messing with me. I had no clue. I remember calling my sponsor saying, if I write self-esteem one more time, I don't know what I'm going to do. Can I just do SSS? Oh my God, I'm so sick. No wonder I don't have any. What are my ambitions? My ambitions is what I think you should be, what I think you should do, what I want to get, what should be happening here. I didn't know that whenever you didn't comply, that was threatened. Fascinating. I'm driven by self. Is that what self looks like? I have an agenda. And I believe that this is important and this is what should be happening and this is what needs to happen. Did anybody get the memo? I always wondered, why isn't anybody following the script? I think I wrote it out very clearly. I could have sworn that I took my time to write the script out in a way that was legible. I'm not sure why you're not either reading it or why you don't understand it. And more importantly, why aren't you following it? Don't you know that I know what's best for all of us? I didn't know that this idea of me thinking that I know what's best for all of us had nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with me. But I swear, I painted it in such a way that appeared as though this was the best thing for you and everybody around me. Man, I really believed it did. I'll give you an example. My brother was suicidal and he called me to watch the boys. We lived in this right next door to each other. So I go there, but it appears to me that this guy's on a suicide mission. And so I call a friend of mine to stay in the house with the boys. And I chase my brother out to the parking lot and I don't let him get in the car. And I'm fighting with him to the point my brother loves Star Wars, right? He loves Star Wars. And so I start using language of Star Wars. And I'm like, you're Darth Vader, I'm Luke Skywalker, and we're going to call Yoda. And so I called my dad, and my dad is Yoda. And I'm telling my dad that my brother's tripping and I think he's going to take his life. And my father, he's not a Catholic, right? He's a religious man, but not a Catholic. But my brother is. So my dad starts doing the Our Father, but he messes it up because he doesn't know the Our Father. And it's pissing my brother off more because my dad is like, Our Father who eats bread in the sky. You know what I mean? And he's messing it up. And I'm arguing with my brother and fighting with my brother. And the sun begins to come up. And my brother asks me, why are you here? And I said, because I love you and I care. Why were you here yesterday? Because I love you and I care. He said, let me ask you something. Are you here because of God's will or self-will? Interesting question. Give me a minute. What's being affected right now? What is my disturbance with him? My ambition? I want my brother in my life. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. This is my personal relationship with him. That he may die or take his life is affecting the idea of who you are in my life. My self-esteem, why would you do this to me? Why would you not want to be here with me? And my pocketbook, my economics is relied upon who you are and what you are. This is a we thing, man. We do we things together. Interesting. So I am disturbed by the idea of what he wants to do because it is affecting these areas in my life. And it doesn't mean that it's okay for my brother to commit suicide and I need to mind my business. That's not what this issue is about. The issue is about what role am I playing in this conversation? And what I got to do was to turn around and say, God, this is a spiritual, sick man, as I am too. Save me from being angry. How can I be useful to him? Thy will be done. And I turned around and looked at, what does this have to do with Theresa? It's no longer about him. It's no longer about what he got going on. What does this have to do with me? This is the beauty of the inventory part. What does this have to do with me? And I asked myself, where are you being selfish? Selfish meaning that what is it that I want out of this situation? I want my older brother to stay alive. I want my brother to be in my life. Where am I self-seeking? What will I gain if he doesn't commit suicide? I'll gain us growing old together. I'll gain him being a father to his boys. I'll gain financial stability. I'll gain love and support. I'll gain being able to hang out with my brother and learn from my brother. There's a lot of things I'll gain from this relationship. And so therefore, I'm invested in that. Where am I being dishonest about this? You know, I'm being dishonest. I'm telling him why he should live. I don't know why he should live or die. That's not true. I'm telling him that there's every reason that he should want to live. But what I'm not saying is I really don't know why you should live or die. What I do know, it has everything to do with by you dying, what that's going to do to me. I'm not telling you that though. I'm not telling you that this is all about me. I'm not thinking about what's going on with you. I'm thinking about how it's going to hurt me. But I'm trying to fix it in a way to make you think that it should be important to you. And I'm afraid. I am terrified. I'm terrified that you're going to die on my watch. I'm terrified that your boys are going to look at me every single day without you, thinking that I could have did something about it. I'm terrified that I'll never have you. I'll be lost and I'll be confused. And I am driven by those things. And this entire conversation that I've been having with him for the last few hours have been all about that fourth column. And I said to him, you know what? The answer to that question is this. I'm here because of self-will. I am selfish. I am self-seeking. I am dishonest and I'm afraid. And he said, that's why you haven't been able to help me. Because it's been about you. You never asked me what I needed. Check that out. Not once did you ask me what was going on with me. And I told him the beauty of that question is that I now get to ask God to remove that from me and ask you, what is it that I can do for you? And he said, what you can do for me is you can do what I asked you to do. And that is to take care of my boys. But now, since you've been here, if you can drop me off in Pasadena, make sure that the boys get to school, I would greatly appreciate it. And I said, no problem. I dropped them off in Pasadena, came back, took the boys to school, and I actually had to speak that I had to catch a plane because I was speaking in I was speaking in Canada, in Niagara Falls, and I got on a plane. That is what inventory has taught me, that all of my interaction with other human beings have all been driven by self, but I can't see it unless I do that. There are so many accounts that I can apply that example to that I don't even know that I'm driven by self. I'm just doing it, man. It's like automatic. And you lay out a tool, you give me a formula that allows me to see what, that by doing that, those four columns, asking myself those questions, I get to see that I am not useful here. As a matter of fact, you told me what was going on. I'm in collision with something or somebody. That's all I'm doing. I don't achieve the end game, the very thing that I think I'm trying to obtain, I don't obtain. As a matter of fact, it only gets worse. I didn't even know that the more I played God, the worse the situation got. I'm that delusional that I turn around and blame you even more, and then I get mad at me. And you gave me this tool as an opportunity to really take a look and see how I'm participating in all my affairs and why my life isn't successful. Why is my business failing when I think I'm putting every effort forward to make it successful? Why is it failing? I need to know that if I want to stay around with you guys a little bit longer. This is the spiritual program of action, to uncover, discover, discard, to get rid of anything that is standing in the way of my usefulness. It's a hard pill to swallow. That's what they tell me. You've just swallowed some large chunks of information. There's nothing about that step that I think when I did it that I was like, yay, this is exciting. I remember I had one sponsee, when he got done, he went to the bathroom and started throwing up, and I started clapping. I was like, he was like, this is not funny. I was like, yay. Get that stuff out. And I love how sometimes, because I felt the same way, where some people have said, why bring up old stuff, right? Why dig up the past? What's the reason for digging up the past? Let bygones be bygones. Let dead dogs lie, or something. I don't know about certain little phrases in English, whatever, right? Let something lie. I don't know, whatever, right? And I always ask the question, whoever told you it was buried? That's also a delusional concept, to believe that all those things are buried. They're not buried. I live and operate on those every day. That's the pair of glasses that I'm living life. I'm living life through the pair of glasses of all of my resentments. It's my number one offender. Fear is an evil corroding thread that runs through the fabric of the existence of my life. I needed to take that in for a minute. When I did my fear inventory and listed all the fears that I had been living in, and what really got me was the question of, was it because self reliance failed me? That's a really interesting question. I knew my fears, but yet I thought I had a lot of courage. But I'm driven by fear. And every decision I make, my fear is interwoven in it. That means I'm making decisions based on that fear and how to manage them. I'm afraid of abandonment. Of course I am. I was abandoned in the hospital by my mother. Everybody left me. Nobody loves me. They told me my entire life before I came to you that I was garbage, I was nothing, I was unworthy and unnecessary. So I'm afraid of abandonment. And because I'm afraid of abandonment, what is the things that I do to manage my fear? I hold you hostage. I leave you before you leave me. I tell you, you don't matter. I dress up my outsides, and I make sure that I look the best that I can look. I do everything I can to either not be abandoned or to pretend that abandonment, it doesn't matter. And I'm making every single decision in my interaction with other human beings based on that fear. And that's only one fear. Those are the things I do to manage my fear. And the question is, have I gotten rid of my fear? This is how I get convinced. Theresa, have you gotten rid of your fear? No, I haven't. No, I haven't. As a matter of fact, I've perpetuated it. It's only gotten worse. I keep trying to figure out ways how to do this. And no matter what I do, I keep coming up with the same fear. This management business, you guys are starting, this step is starting to debunk the arrogance of me believing that I have been successfully running my life. That's why I say this is where I'm no longer the CEO of Theresa Incorporated. I'm not successful. So self-reliance has failed me. And then you tell me perhaps there's a better way. Trusting infinite God rather than finite self. And you begin to give me a definition of a power. Infinite means unmeasurable, unlimited. Finite means limited and measured. So far, I see the evidence where I am limited and measured. And now I'm going to try this other way. And I'm going to ask this infinite, unmeasured power to remove that from me. There is nothing that I read in that book that said to me that I was wrong for having fears, that I was wrong for resenting others, and that I was wrong for my sexual conduct motives. This is how I heard what is said to me, or God talking to me, the God you were introducing me to. It said, Theresa, there's nothing wrong with being angry with people that you believe have hurt you. There's nothing wrong for all the fears that you have. And there's nothing wrong for the conduct and the decisions that you made for intimacy and sexual pleasure. Because you see, this process isn't about switching the baseball bat from others and now pounding it on you. The problem is this. It's about the way you've been going about it. You're deserving of love, respect, deserving of loving and respecting others. You have not been able to achieve it because of the formula in which you have been approaching it. That's how I see the inventory. It is an opportunity for me to see that all the hopes and dreams and desires that I have cannot be achieved when it's only driven by self. Didn't know that. My inventory, 90% of my inventory was harm done to me. If anybody has heard me also share about that, I come from sexual abuse, physical abuse, and verbal abuse. But I have squandered the hours. It's almost like they say, drinking the poison, helping that the other person dies. And this was an opportunity for me to get free. And I'm willing to be free. And then I get to dance with somebody else. And after I've compiled these lists of seeing how my ego has been just running the show and doing what it does to survive, it is designed that way. This is an ego reducing program. It's a spiritual program of action of reducing my ego. I don't get rid of my ego. I always tell people there's no way to get rid of it. It's a God-given thing. I wouldn't compete. I wouldn't do. The ego becomes necessary. You use language like self-will run riot. My self-will is necessary. This power needs me to turn my will over to it. If I can get rid of my will, God would just take it. I need to turn it over. This is an ego reducing process. Who says that's supposed to be comfortable? Especially if I've been driven and running by it. And then I go sit with someone and they clearly help me and guide me and show me who is this person that I'm going to talk to. I've always felt that the big book introduced me to respect. I didn't know what respect looked like until the pages of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, believe it or not. I saw it the way you guys love me. You introduced me to an unconditional love. But I always felt like the big book, until this day, respected me because it knows me. It never shamed me, belittled me. It enlightened me. It guided me. And it even tells me, I know you may be concerned. I swear it's a personal relationship I have with the big book. I swear this is how it talked to me. I know you're concerned, Theresa, about some of the things that you may have on those pages, but I don't need you to worry, because you know what? If there's anything in there that you believe you cannot share with someone that can actually cause you harm in confidentiality, you can talk to someone who is legally binded to maintain the confidentiality. I don't need to worry about who I'm going to share my fifth step with. The only thing that we ask is that you find someone who knows what you're driving at, that you find someone that understands, but stay away from someone that you can actually hurt with it. So that means I don't go to my mother, my father, you know what I mean, my brother, my sister, and tell them all these things. Tell them all these things just to relieve my conscience of them. And what I experienced in my fifth step was intimacy, what that is to be vulnerable and someone doesn't shame me. That was my experience in my fifth. That I disrobed and someone understood. In grief recovery, we call it a heart with ears. I got to see a heart with ears. That's one drunk talking to another. I've had the pleasure of experiencing that sitting across someone else that I listened to their fifth step, and I listen and I see me, mirror, mirror. And I get to hear her say, I did that too. Yep, that's what we do. The shame was removed in my fifth step. Shame means there's something wrong with me. I'm flawed, I'm defective, and I'm damaged, and I'm no good. And it shifts to guilt. Guilt says I've done something wrong. Shame says there's something wrong with me. There is no solution in shame. There is no resolve in shame. There's no hope in shame. If I'm damaged, flawed, and defective, I'm no good, and there's nothing you can do with me. Guilt, on the other hand, I can take responsibility, I can take an action, and I can clean it up. And it shifted. In my fifth step, I remember my sponsor took a minute, and I like sharing this often with people because of all that I had been through. And I didn't even know that all of the abuse that I had experienced those years, that something was wrong with it. I remember my sponsor saying, the big book says anger is a dubious luxury for normal men, but for alcoholics, this kills us and we can't afford to do it. But with you, I'm going to need you to be angry for like a week. And you're going to be pissed off for a whole week before we move on. I'm so grateful for the direction that my sponsor gave me. And some people can agree with that, not agree with that. I love all the controversies we get into in this room. I'm like, what are we talking about? Thank goodness this is not a cookie cutter. You know what I mean? We follow these steps as they're written, but the experience has helped me. When she said that to me for the first time, somebody said, I need you to take a minute and realize that what was done to you was not okay. I didn't know that. And it's not your fault. And so I spent the week writing letters, cursing people out, even though I couldn't send them. And I practiced being angry. And all I did was follow direction. I didn't know how to be angry. I just act angry. So I would go around going, I'm upset and I'm angry. You can call it therapy. I don't care what the hell you call it. All I know is that I was willing to follow direction to stay sober. And I was like, I'm angry this week. I'm angry, whatever. I've soon come to understand what it is, and it is a dubious luxury, and I can't afford to be in anger today, but I had my shot in my first year. That week I was pissed off, and it helped me so much. And just talking to her, I just remember talking to her and saying all these things, and to have someone listen like a heart with ears, meet me where I was. I got to experience nobody better than, nobody less than. We just are, and we're doing this thing together. I've incorporated 4 and 5. I incorporate all the 12 steps in my life. These are tools designed for living. The fifth step, and you could say a 10th, spot check. I believe in writing it out, putting it on paper. I remember when I started working, I would sit in staff meetings and I would be doing inventory in the staff meeting. The only thing I was concerned about was praying that nobody would look at my paper. And most of my staff meetings, they thought I was taking really great notes. But if they looked at my paper, they would want to call the pet team. You know what I'm saying? Because I would sit in staff meetings. Now, I come from a life of abuse. And so I always, my perception is distorted. And so whenever I would hear people talk, I would hear conversations based on my resentments and my fears. And then in my intimate personal relationships about my sex conduct. And so the inventory helped me to sort that out so that I don't have to jump in and play God and come to the rescue and defend myself because I'm being attacked. And so I would, in staff meetings or with anybody, I would pick up a pen and paper and I would begin writing that stuff out. What is this affecting? I've learned to do it, and they use it in the 10 step and the 12 and 12. They call it a spot check. But I've learned to apply this step when I'm talking to somebody. Literally, I could be having a conversation with you, and I know when I'm disturbed. I feel it. I remember my nephew said to me, he used to he would get really, really angry and go off and stuff. And I remember he said to me, "You don't understand, Titi. I go from 0 to 100. I don't know what happens. I just jump instantly from 0 to 100." And I was like, "I completely understand. And there's no way you can," I asked him, "there's no way you can kind of stop and judge and take a step back and pause." "No, I just go from 0 to 100. No problem. There's a place for you. It's called jail." So ultimately, what's going to happen is pretty much that means you out of control. You have no way to manage your emotions. So you have to be controlled. So you need to ask yourself, do you want to learn how not to get to 100? Because what that means is you're a danger to society. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all. That's what you're telling me. So you got to kind of determine how you want to work that out. I'm glad to say he didn't like that idea. So he started working on, let me figure out when I get to 1. You know what I'm saying? Because it's called jail. We just lock you up because you dangerous. So I can tell when I'm disturbed. And so when I'm disturbed, instantly I, and most people, I give away the secret. Okay. So most people know me, but I give away the secret. I'm going to give away the secret. What I do is I put my hand over my mouth. And the reason why I do this is to stop me from saying something that is later going to put me in a position to be hurt and hurt others. So I put my hand over my mouth. And while the person is talking, I start doing inventory. And I start asking myself, anyway, I'll be like, I be calling you names, so I don't want to be nice here. It's being recorded, but I be like, this motherfucker. I be like, I be like, oh, and then I start, oh, you affected my self esteem, yo, for real. I be like, oh snap, check this out. You were certainly attacking my ambitions. I be doing that, I swear. I'm doing that whole thing while they're talking. And then I pray for the person, okay? And I go ahead and pray. And then I immediately, what it tells me is the inventory is mine, not the other man's. And so the magnifying glass, I have to, after I do that and I pray for them, I have to solely look at me. I do have a pet peeve. I know people say part, people say my part. That's just my pet peeve. Just do it. It doesn't matter if you want to say part or not. For me, it says, where am I at fault? Where am I to blame? And to me, I take full responsibility and fault and blame. Part leaves you with a part. So that's just for me. Then I kind of be like, I used to use that. What's your part? You know what I mean? Whatever. This is my part. What's your part? Right? That anyway, it still leaves you on the hook. And so I look at where I'm at fault and I instantly get an opportunity to see where I'm being selfish and self seeking. And when I do that, I can ask God to remove it or I tell on myself. And then I'm amazed. I remove my hand from my mouth and then I say stuff like, I can see how you see that. Thank you for sharing. That was not my intention. It cracks me up because most people be like, "Oh my God, that was so kind and considerate." I'm like, "No, thank God, because I was I was planning on changing your zip code. If you left it up to me, you would have no teeth." You know what I'm saying? But what you're experiencing now, right along with me, is a miracle. Anyway, I'm just amazed as you are. What just happened? So I've been able to learn because that step to me is so valuable on me being convinced that whatever it is that I'm doing is not going to be a success. And this business of recovery requires the success of God, not the success of Theresa. Then I'm going to use this tool whenever necessary to reveal itself to me that whatever I'm thinking about doing, whatever I have been doing, what I'm about to do is not going to work. It's not going to work. Am I supposed to end, Ali? I don't know.
Soon, please.
Yeah. Okay. So ultimately, I invite you, if you're new, what I hope is that as we share this weekend our experience, there's so much meat and potatoes in these steps that we just make it exciting enough that you're just willing to be willing to do them and not hesitate. I didn't hesitate. I didn't take my time. I didn't wait. I launched into vigorous action. I did the uncomfortable until it became comfortable. And now it's part of a working part of my mind and my body, and a tool that not only has saved my life, but the lives of others around me. And I've had the opportunity of sharing it with others. And I've also been able to share it with my nephews. I'm sorry, but real quick, I always have to do this plug. I've been teaching my nephews to do inventories since the moment they knew how to write and talk, and they know how to do a sex inventory. And the reason why, when they got a girlfriend, I said to them, if you leave it up to me, you will not have sex until you're 90. And so I have to stay out of that controversy. And the only thing I know how to tell you is how to do a sex inventory. And it is the most beautiful thing. My nephew just came over the other day to do an inventory, to see them problem solve using these tools. And whenever they meet a girlfriend or someone that they like, they use these tools. And if these boys can do it, and they're not threatened by alcoholism, I'm sure we can too, because I've got a lot more at stake. So thank you so much for allowing me to share. Thank you.